Hey guys, this is going to be another quick Linux command video. Check the link in the description for more info and for copy and paste examples. The Linux AT command allows you to schedule other commands to run at a specific time. It also comes together with the batch command, which can also be used with a -b. So, just like a helpful shortcut. Now, it's different from the cron command or using the cron tab. That's more for like repeating scheduled tasks. We'll go over that in a separate video. So this video is about the AT command, and it probably won't be installed on your system. It depends on your distro, but in my case, I'm running Ubuntu and AT, it is not installed. So you can install it pretty easily. It'll be slightly different depending on your distro, but for me, I would just go sudo apt install, and you probably want to do an apt update first, but I've already done that. So apt install AT. And there we go. Installing the AT package. And there we go. Now we can say system ctl status atd. So you can see the AT daemon is running. So now this will handle AT jobs for you. So first thing you're going to want to know how to do is list all scheduled jobs. Now, this video is about the AT command. We're also covering the ATQ command and some other related commands because they all go together with this. So you can go right ahead and say ATQ, and this is going to list all your jobs. We don't have any yet. Now, another thing to be aware of is you could just say AT-L, and that should have the same effect. So we should actually start up an example job. So let's see here. So say if we want to create a job, you can just use the AT command to do this without creating a script ahead of time. You're probably better off creating a script, but in any case, you can say AT 1700, so that's going to be 5 o'clock, right? You can say, and just hit enter. Now, if you're, it's going to be executed using binsh, and you can say, and this tells you the exact time that it's going to run. So today at 5 o'clock, right? So you can say, you can specify the command you want to run, say echo test, right? Now this is the command that we run. Now hit enter, and you can just keep hitting enter, specify more stuff if you want, or you can hit Control D, and that's going to finish it. So Control D will finish that job definition, and now we have a job scheduled for this time. So if you can, and I don't think these are going to show up with jobs, so not the same type of job, right? So you can type ATQ, and you will now see we have one job scheduled, right? So let's try another way to do this. So I have a script called test1.sh, so we could also say AT 1700, and we can specify -f for file, and say, let's see if I can do this with a relative path. Test1.sh, commands will be, all right, there you go. Now if you say ATQ, it is going to show us two jobs both scheduled for that time. Now that we have some jobs actually scheduled, we can look things up by job ID. So you can say AT-C and specify the job ID, like let's say job 1, right? Let's just check this out. And this will give us, it gives us the actual command you're going to run, that's going to be run, but it also gives us the environment in which it's running. So it gives you a bunch of environment info too. So yeah, so basically, it's the command or content of the job by job ID. Now, let's see, if you want to show specific, you can show specific queues. I'm not going to get into different queues right at the moment, but for example, you could say ATQ -QM, so the M queue, and you can also do this with a -L, right? So anyways, okay, so ignore that for now. So that is going to be with the AT command, right? So anyways, nothing to see there. We'll maybe cover queues later. Now, I wanted to show you that you can remove jobs. So you can queue, you can say ATRM, and let's try removing job number 2. So we've removed it, and now we only have one job. So now we can say AT, instead of ATRM, you can do AT-R and specify 1 for job ID 1 and remove that. So now all the jobs are gone. Now I'd like to quick start up another job. So let's just schedule a few of these, and let's try removing job number 3. So we can say, besides we did ATRM and we've done AT-R, both of those worked. We can also say AT-D and kill one that way. So there we go, remove job ID 3. So ATRM, or you can do AT-R or AT-D to remove jobs. So let's see, for scheduling, you could also, let's see, the first one, all right, so scheduled one directly by just typing AT in the time and typed in a command for it. And we've tried with a script, using a shell script. Now another thing you can do, you know, rather than specifying this, and rather than, you know, typing it in as you go, you can also pipe a job definition in. So you just specify AT in the time. Now if you type that, it's going to ask you to type in the command and do Control-D, but if you pipe in your definition, you can say echo test and pipe it into AT like this. So we're going to echo a string, and that string that we echo is going to be piped in as the command for your AT command. So the command we actually want to run is echo in the string test, and we have that enclosed in double quotes, and we're going to echo that whole thing using this command right here. And so now we have a job created. So we can say ATQ and see that yet another job has been created. So let's see, there's 8 right here. They're not in order necessarily, but job number 8 has been created. So and I guess it tells you in the output right here. Now another way to create a job, similar thing, you can say AT 1700, just picking this, we'll show you how to select different times too. Now you could type this and then you have to hit type in your command, enter Control-D, but instead of doing that, you can specify and you know, something to terminate it called, I guess, using a here doc. I guess that's the reference to this method, but anyways, you can type this and say end like that, and so then when it sees the 3 letters END, it's going to stop the job definition. So you could say hit enter, and you could say echo test, hit enter, and then type END like that, and then it's done. So job 9 has been created. ATQ, and there you go, right there, job 9. Now, there are alternate ways of specifying time, and let's see here real quick. So, and I think at the end I'm going to go over some of the different queues a little bit, but instead of saying, so let's just use the simplest way of specifying a job. So AT specifies 1700-F and test, right? So just specify a script and that will create a job at 5 o'clock. Now we've already got quite a few of those. But let's show you some different ways to specify times. I'm not going to show you all of them. I'm going to try to show you most of them. And then if you want to see some more, you can check the link in the description. It has a ton of examples there. And you can also check the man page if you really want to. So instead of 1700, you could specify 5 p.m. or 5:30 if you want. And yeah, you see here, yeah, so the one that was 5 p.m., it will show up as 1700. I believe that's going to be this guy right here. And then the one that was 5:30, 17:30 right here, right? So it's going to display it using the 24-hour clock, right? You can also say something like, you could say noon, and it's going to understand that. And you could say midnight, like this, right? And it's going to schedule it for midnight. You could even say tea time. So ATQ. So we've got all of these, right? So let's see here. So 12 was not 12. All right, this guy was noon. So job 13 was noon. And this one was midnight. And 15 is tea time right there. Scheduled for tea time. Now, we could also say now to run it right now. So that should be running right now. So anyways, so you can see right here currently, I guess that probably indicates that it's currently running. And I think A is the actual queue that it's in. So anyways, clear all that out of there. And let's run, you could say now. Another thing you can do is now plus 3 hours. So you want to specify the number of hours. So ATQ. So now plus that many hours, right? Now you could also specify, or that is not correct. All right, I'm getting time zones and everything mixed up here. All right, so right here, now plus 3 hours. So yeah, so anyways, I'm getting the time zone of the box I'm logged into mixed up and you know, confusing the time since these aren't all listed in order. But yeah, so there's now, and then there's now plus 3 hours. Now, you could also say, instead of hours, you could specify days and run ATQ. And notice there's one for 3 days from now, right? So what else? You could also say, instead of all of that, you could just say today. And today is going to run right now, right? So what else? You could run, you know, you can run a specific time like 17. This is not super, this is kind of in line with what we've already done. So not surprising that you could specify it like that. We've been specifying 1700, you know, for all our examples. So 1715 is also makes a lot of sense. Also, you could specify today. So same day, but at that time, right? So you could also specify tomorrow. So specifying tomorrow is going to be in 24 hours from now, right? Now you could specify specific time tomorrow. You could say like 2 p.m. tomorrow. Or you could have said like, you know, 1400 tomorrow, right? Schedule for the next day at that specific time. You can specify, so we're scheduling a script run at a specific time and a specific day, right? So what else? You could just say run it Friday, and that's going to be, you know, let's see, Friday. So the next Friday. So, oops, ATQ is the command I'm looking for here. So yeah, one of them for Friday, and same time but on Friday, basically. So next I would, what else should I show you? You could also say something like, you could say something like, you know, 9 a.m. 9 a.m. on Friday plus 2 weeks. You can add 2. So this is getting to be a little bit elaborate. You specify the time on Friday plus 2 weeks. So not this coming Friday, but Friday 2 weeks after that, right? So 2 weeks from Friday at 9 a.m., right? So job 26, ATQ. I keep wanting to type the jobs command. So All right, yeah, so job 26. So we can see right here. Yeah, so, June 14th, Friday, still a Friday, but June 14th instead of May 29th. So, anyways, yeah, and at 9 a.m. So, yeah, you can do elaborate things like that. And you can also use actual dates if you don't want to use imprecise things like that. I mean, those are nice for convenience, and there are a lot of situations where you might want them. You can also use dates. Like, for example, you could say August 21st, right? You could also specify the year, like 2024, but you could also specify, you can specify the dates like this. You can specify like 08/21/24. Or you could say 21.08.24. And what else? Other ways to specify the date. Yeah, and if you can use dashes, so it would be like 24-08-21. I forget if the order of year, month, and day depend on whether it's a slash or a dot or a dash, right? But I believe that's the case. Any case, I would typically, if you're scheduling something or doing anything technical, I don't prefer the American or the European ways. I prefer, the international standard of just using like 2024. You do year, month, date. That way it's easier to sort. So that's just a better way to do dates. And I prefer to separate it with a dash just because it's easier to read. So you do like 08/21. So August 21st, 2024 would be written like that. And you can schedule a job just like that, right? Now, what else do we have here? So you could specify the date, and you can also specify the time if you want, 4 p.m., just like that, if you want to. And you can also specify an exact time and date. This is going to be year, month, day, hour, month, dot, second. So I'm going to paste this in here. So this for this one, you're going to need a dash T. So let's just paste this thing in here. We're going to paste in dash T, and this is a little bit difficult to read, but it's just basically just a bunch of numbers, right? So 2023, 08, 16, 17, 08. So it's going to be like 508 on this day, and the exact seconds. The only thing that divides it is this period before the seconds. And let's just change the date to something more valid, like 2024. And there you go. You can schedule it like that too. A little bit more difficult to work with, but you could do that if you like. Now let's talk about queues. Now the A queue is the default queue for AT. So by default, you're showing stuff in A. Now the B queue is the default queue for batch, for the batch command. So instead of AT, you might be using the batch command. We'll talk a tiny bit about that in a little bit, but we're not really focusing on that in this video. So the equals sign is a currently running queue, is basically the queue for things that are currently running or in a running state. So as you saw in the output here, you saw this and this are both in the queue for things that are currently running, right? So that's all fine and great, and they're going to run for a long time. But anyways, let's see if they're still there. ATQ. Yeah, so a whole lot more jobs because we used a lot of examples. I'm going to kill all of these after this video. But because they're just an example, you can see a couple of them actually running. So the equal sign, you see A is the actual default queue. So everything waits into that queue until it's running, and then it's going to be in this queue here, right? Now, let's see, what else can we say? There is the existence of custom queue names, lowercase a through z and uppercase a through z. Higher letters have a higher niceness or a lower priority. So this has to do with the niceness of a process on Linux. If you're familiar with the nice command, if not, that's a topic for another video. But for example, something in the lowercase a queue is a higher priority than something in the lowercase z queue, right? Now, capital letter and anything in the let's see, capital letter queues are going to be lower priority than lowercase letter queues, and also they only run when the load average is below 0.8. So if you put something in a queue with a capital letter, it only runs when the load average for the system is below 0.8. So not only are they lower priority, but they have that restriction as well. Now, let's see here. I think this would be an example of running something. So let's try this. So we say if we have something scheduled. All right, so we have this so we have this complicated date specification here, this neat elaborate thing specifying our script. And now we can also specify -q, and let's put this in the SQ right here. And now let's run ATQ, and we can see a bunch of things, most of them in the AQ, but we see the one we just created is in the SQ, right? You could also put something in the ZQ if you want. Let's put a bunch of things in Z, just so we can see them, right? So we see a bunch of things in A, something in S, something in equals, Z, equals, Z. See, these aren't exactly sorted in order. A couple more things in the ZQ, AQ, ZQ, bunch of AQs, Z. So you can see the Q right here in this column. So any case, you could, so that's how you'd specify a queue. And now let's go back to some of the commands we talked about at the beginning of this video that I kind of glossed over because we didn't have anything in those queues. But you could say ATQ-Q. So M would be the MQ, which we don't have anything. A would be only things in the AQ. We do only things in the ZQ. Only things, can we do equals? Only things running, so only things in the equals queue. So you can specify different queues like that, which is kind of nice. I think we had an SQ. So you can query based on queue as well. And besides the ATQ command, there was the AT command, AT-L-Q, and specify like as the ZQ, for example. That's another way to do it. So you can use the ATQ or the AT command to view those. So hopefully that's worth using. Now, let's talk briefly about the batch command. Now, this command we will, we'll run when the load average is below 0.8. So it's similar to the AT command, except that it won't accept a time, command, or script parameters. So you can input the command interactively, and that's it. So you can't specify like a script, you can't specify the time, or any of that. You can basically, you know what? Let me just show you an example. So batch. I wasn't going to cover this in this video, but let's go. Here goes. So 1700, just as an example, and end like this, and you can say echo, and you can say end like that. And I believe I did that wrong. It accepts no parameters. All right, so the mistake I made was specifying. All right, so we can't specify the time. So batch, don't specify the time. You just say batch and say end. And then you specify the command here, echo, whatever you want to specify, and then say END to end it. And here it says, warning, commands will be executed using this shell, job 41 at this times, right? So you can say ATQ, view what is running there, and I believe so right here, B, that job we just created with the batch command, it is in QB. And is that correct? Yes, so that is of a lower priority, and so this one will only run when the load average is below 8, but I believe it is supposed to run right away. In any case, that's an example of using the batch command. We're not going to go any further with that command for today. And what else? So by default, AT will send output as mail only if there is output. Now you can override this if you want. So for example, if you're running the AT command to let's see right here. So AT command. Now let's say if you want to ensure mail is sent, whether there's output or not, you can say lowercase m. Now, if you want to suppress sending mail, you can do a capital M, and then it will always suppress it whether there's output or not. So that's the last thing I wanted to show you for the AT command. This should get you, pretty much, this should be mostly everything you would want to learn about the AT command. Also obviously check the link in the description for more info on this command. And check the man page if you want to take the time to go through that. I would recommend checking the link in the description first because it's a little bit more concise and direct, gives you all the stuff you actually need right away. Then check the man page for more details and a more thorough documentation. But yeah, that's the AT command. You're also probably going to want to learn about the cron command and the cron tab command. So I'm doing another video on that. It'll either be posted before this one or after this video, but stay tuned for that as well. And real quick, I figured I'd just share this too. I almost wasn't going to include this in the video, but this is how I cleaned up all those jobs. There might be an easier way to do it, but for me, this is what I went with. So I ran the ATQ command to dump out all of the jobs, sent that through awk, just grabbed that first column for the job IDs, and I looped over it with a for loop and just said do AT remove and the job ID, right? So that just loops over all the job IDs and runs AT remove to delete all the jobs, and that includes 2 running jobs, which they're just going to sleep forever, or for a long time. So there we go. Ran ATQ again, and all the jobs are gone. That's how I cleaned everything up. In case you guys were curious, figured I'd just include this last quick clip just because it's probably going to be helpful for somebody. Remember, check the links in the description for more info. Hit the subscribe button for more useful content like this. We also have a ton of other more interesting content covering things like coding, hardware, software, servers, Raspberry Pis, 3D printing, and a whole lot more. Hopefully you found this useful. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys on that next video.